మాకు ఆ లెక్కనైతే 40 సంవత్సరాలు
40 years, 4 decades. 4 decades.
Okay.
Right, Ma, you can go ahead.
తిరుపతిరావు గారు అండ్ వెల్కమ్ టు
నమస్తే మేడం. నమస్తే మేడం. శిరీష గారు బాగున్నారా?
బాగున్నాను సార్.
నిన్న క్లాస్ బాగుందండి, నిన్న విన్నాను.
అయ్యా
అవ్వలేదు.
ఓకే సార్. సార్ అదే సో వి స్టార్ట్ ద ప్రోగ్రామ్ సార్.
ఓకే, స్టార్ట్ చేయండి.
ఓకే, కామేశ్వరి మేడం యూ కెన్ స్టార్ట్. Kameshri madam, you are on mute. You can start, madam.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Department of Mathematics and Statistics and Center for Learning and Sustainability, we welcome delegates, honorable resource persons, distinguished professors, industrial persons, and faculty to the 5th day of Online International Faculty Development Program on recent advances in mathematics and statistics. It is my privilege to express sincere gratitude to distinguished professors Uma Shankar Garu, Tirupati Rao Garu, Chandrasekhar Garu participating for today's program. So far, we have completed 5 different creative, illuminating, and motivational sessions by renowned mathematicians and statisticians. Hope you are all comfortable and getting enough knowledge through this FDP. Today, we are going to have one more memorable session on applications of point process in reliability theory by Dr. V.S. Sharma Edavalli Garu, Professor and Head, Department of Industrial and System Engineering, University of Pretoria, Pretoria, South Africa. We are all overwhelmed to have Professor Sharma Edavalli on board for Resource Town. Now, I invite Dr. Sridhar Akari to introduce our honorable resource person, Professor Sri Sharma Edavalli. Thank you.
Thank you,
Over to Sridhar Garu.
Thank you, Dr. Amir Kamesri Garu. Good evening to one and all. Dr. Venkata S.S. Edavalli is a professor and head of the Department of Industrial Systems Engineering at University of Pretoria, South Africa. He obtained his PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai in 1983. His main areas of interest include stochastic modeling towards reliability, queuing theory, inventory management, manpower planning systems, and finance. He has published over 150 research papers in these areas. He published articles in various national and international journals like Annals of Operations Research, Stochastic Analysis and Applications, International Journal of Production Economics, International Journal of Production Research, Applied Mathematics and Computation, Communications in Statistics, IEEE Transactions on Reliability, Computers and Industrial Engineering, etc. Professor V.S. Sharma Edavalli was the past Vice President and President of Operations Research Society of South Africa. During his tenure as a President, the International Federation of Operations Research Society conference was held in South Africa for the first time. He is in the editorial board of various national and international journals. He is a fellow of South African Statistical Association and the fellow of Industrial Engineering and Operations Management Society, USA. Professor V.S. Sharma Edavalli received various awards from various professional bodies like IEOM, South African Institute of Industrial Engineers, South African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, etc. for his contribution towards research. With this brief introduction, I happily invite Professor V.S. Sharma Edavalli to deliver his lecture. Hearty welcome, sir, and over to Professor V.S. Sharma Edavalli Garu.
Thank you. Thank you, Sridhar Garu. Thank you, Sunita Garu,
Thank you,
Thank you, Kameshwari Garu,
Thank you,
and
sir.
all other guests. I mean, big thanks to Uma Shankar Garu as well. Good evening. I don't know, but it is good afternoon here. I'm sure it is good afternoon there as well. And if J.S. Rao Garu is here, well, good morning for him. Distinguished guests, research scholars, academicians, and industry partners, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for inviting me to participate in the week-long international faculty development program on recent advances in mathematics and statistics. Probably with a view that we discuss the research problems and future research in mathematics and specific areas of mathematics and statistics. I'm working in the industrial engineering department here at University of Pretoria. I see that your president, Sri Bharat Garu, is also an industrial engineer. I thought it would have been nice to discuss with him some industrial engineering problems as well. Anyway, this means it's very special for me. I left Andhra and Bharat 40 years back, but I heard a lot about Geetam. I am happy to be a part of Geetam through this IFDP. Also, this is the birth centenary of the legendary statistician Professor C.R. Rao, whom I met first time in 1977 at Vigyan Bhavan at the International Statistical Institute conference in Delhi. And from that time, of course, I have been meeting Professor Rao on many occasions at different conferences, one in Germany, one in Sri Lanka, and many in India, quite a number of conferences. Professor C.R. Rao, and I just want to say here a very important point. I'm sure all of you know Dr. Nelson Mandela. Dr. Nelson Mandela and Professor C.R. Rao have received the honorary doctorates at the same graduation in the University of Cyprus. So that's, in my opinion, a great honor. I mean, Dr. Mandela in this century, I think probably is the greatest man. So they have received at the same time. Professor Rao has produced 50 PhD students, and top 10 students, top 10 in my opinion, each one is an institution by itself. And one of them is our Srinivasa Rao Jamalamadka. I think they have produced so many. Probably these 10 students would have produced 350 other students. So it is a great honor to be associated with these people. I'm honored to sit in this panel with Srinivasa Rao Garu. And then I have been attending the seminars during the past 1 week. I'm an IFDP, and they are all very interesting. I wish the Department of Mathematics, Institute of Science at Geetam all the best for the remaining program. Organizing these type of development programs is a very healthy sign for future research scholars and for future research as well. Thank you once again. Maybe I will start with my lecture. Today's topic is applications of point processes on reliability. So there are two issues here. One is point process and the other is the reliability. Point process is only a tool, but reliability is a different a discipline by its own right. So I just want to explain what reliability is about very briefly for a few minutes, and then we will go to point processes, what are the point processes and how we apply these point processes in reliability for different systems. That is what we will discuss. Reliability theory is one of the important branches of, some people say it is a part of operations research, but in a broad umbrella, it is a part of systems engineering. Any systems analysis, in order to be complete, must give due consideration to system reliability. I mean, today, with remarkable advances made in electronics engineering, military and communication systems have become more sophisticated. When such systems fail, very serious situations arise. Therefore, in the present day context, high system reliability has become very important for the viewpoint of both the manufacturers and the consumers. Now, if you take an engineer, a system designer is often faced with problems of determining the various system measures like reliability, availability, interval reliability. Well, there are many measures, system performances like joint point availability, joint interval reliability, cost analysis. There are so many measures you can find out of a reliability system. The system designer has to suggest ways by which the efficiency of a given system can be improved. This is very important. Due to the nature of the subject, now we know probability theory plays a major role, stochastic processes, for that matter point processes, and in general mathematical statistics are necessary to study and solve the problems that rise in reliability theory. Now coming to stochastic point processes. What is, roughly speaking, what is point processes is, if a point has occurred on the time axis, if an event has occurred at the time on the time axis, and you constitute those events, they form a point processes. For example, or roughly speaking, you take your Poisson process, the number of arrivals occurring at each time point, you count them. So that counting process is a Poisson process. Now, roughly speaking, a stochastic point process can be defined as a continuous time but discrete state space process. So that is called a point process. Now we integrate, how do we integrate these point processes and reliability? That is what I'm going to explain here. Sorry. Okay. In reliability engineering, well, I have prepared these slides more like a story. So there are almost 60 slides. I'm not going to explain everything. Where there is too much of mathematics, I will just explain a bit and then move to the other slides. So because of the time, if there is time, well, we can discuss more further future research or any questions we can discuss on it. Okay, in reliability engineering, occurrence of a repair, completion of a failed machine is a point event in the sense that the event occurs at a random time point. In the same way, suppose the occurrence of a failure of a machine is a point event. That is also a point event. Completion of, for example, you take in inventory, completion of manufacturing of a product is also a point event. So these are all point events. They constitute a point processes. But point events can also take place in a space. Space means in a region. So, for example, deployment of equipment in a region may be considered as a collection of random points in the region. Okay. Again, I'm just defining again point processes more in a mathematical way. Stochastic point processes whose realizations consist of point events in time or space is a point process. That's all. That is the definition of a point process. A point process can be mathematically defined in several ways. For example, the joint distribution of count of points in arbitrary sets. That is one way of looking at the point process. If the process has no multiple simultaneous occurrences and is in one-dimensional space, via the joint distributions of intervals between successive points starting from a suitable origin. For example, I will connect this to a reliability problem. If a system is working in a particular time interval t1 plus t1 plus x1, t2 plus t2 plus x2, that means as long as it is functioning during these intervals, they constitute a Poisson process. And then this also gives moment densities. I will come to that in a few minutes. What are these moment densities? Well, there is quite a lot of literature on point processes. The very good book by Cox and Isham, A Brief Development of Application Point Processes. This is published by Chapman and Hall. It is a very good book. And then Daly and Ferre-Jones. This is also an excellent book. They have published most recently means about 17 years back. That was the most recent one. They devised an excellent introduction on point processes, and its historical development is given in the book, An Introduction to the Theory of Point Processes. And then Thompson Jr., Point Process and Applications to Safety and Reliability. This is also an excellent book. And then Point Processes by Rees, another book. And then some people look at, oh, is it reliability only by its own field? With where else it can be used? For example, reliability can be used in wireless networks. There is a beautiful book, Stochastic Geometry in Wireless Networks, where they use only point processes. That is a beautiful book by Baselli, and I can't pronounce, I'm sure neither of you, it's difficult name. And then Stochastic Geometry and Telecommunication Networks by Zuyev. This is in 2009, it was published. This is also an excellent book where they addressed point processes to study reliability, particularly reliability, and other fields as well. Okay, now we talk about product density. What is the difference between the product density and probability density function you have in statistics? The difference is, in the entire region, the probability density function, the total area must be equal to 1. Whereas here, it will give you the central point of the entire data. It won't, this will give you the moments, either the central point or the second moment or the third moment. So when you integrate the whole product density, you won't get equal to 1. It will give you the expected value of different moments, either the first order moment, second order moment, third, depends on what type of product density. I will explain in a few minutes. The product density formalism to study the point processes was developed by Alladi Ramakrishnan. He was the Mat Sciences in Madras, the former director. He is no more. He is the one who started. He was the student of Homi Bhabha. Homi Bhabha was one of the great physicists, particle physics, and Alladi Ramakrishnan did his PhD in particle physics, but he developed tremendous stochastic processes and point processes and these product densities. So he is the initiator. During his investigations on the statistical characteristics of an assembly of particles in continuous energy space, He provided the formula expressing the moments of the number of particles in a given set in terms of the product density. So, and Stirling numbers. Well, so to calculate the expected number of particles, he used product densities, means he calculated the moments, moment densities. That is what we call product densities. So he found the moments out of the product densities. That is the advantage of these product densities. Subsequently, this technique is being used extensively in stochastic modeling. Well, we particularly in Madras IIT, there was a Professor S.K. Srinivasan. He has written a book on stochastic point processes, excellent Griffin's book. And he has given many examples, many in reliability, inventory, queuing, dam models, compartmental models, telecommunication networks. I can't explain. There are many, many applications of point processes in different areas. An account of the product density technique and its impact on the development of point processes is given by, of course, Ramakrishnan. And he wrote a book actually called, it is in German, Handbuch der Physik. So, and later, Professor S.K. Srinivasan was student of Alladi Ramakrishnan, and he has written a beautiful book on point processes. Point processes serve as a powerful tool in the study of reliability models. Several models of redundant repairable systems have been analyzed in the past, and their statistical characteristics, or some people also call it as system performances, obtained by identifying underlying stochastic processes as one of the following. Well, these are all, this slide actually I have given. There are special cases of point processes. For example, renewal processes. I'm sure you know what is a renewal process. A renewal process is a sequence of independent and identically distributed random variables. That's all. So, for example, we renew a license. When you renew a license and it expires, you again renew the license. Why do we need the previous one? So each renewal behaves like an independent random variable and they are identical. So it is called independent and identically distributed random variables. That is called a renewal process. And alternating renewal process is, of course, for example, if a failure occurs and then when the failure occurs, we repair, the repair is done, then the failure occurs, again repair. So there is an alternatively the repairs and failures occur. Such processes are called alternating renewal processes. There is a tremendous, beautiful book written by Cox. It is more like a, even for me today, if I don't get sleep, I feel like reading that book because it is like a novel. It is beautiful, smallest, very small book, probably hand size book. Cox renewal processes is beautiful, and then Shunji Wasaki also have written a book on renewal processes, Birolini, and similarly alternating renewal processes by Math, Nakagawa and Wasaki, and then Srinivasan et al. In 1971, Subramanian et al. In 1983. Then other special cases of point processes are Markov processes with finite state space. I'm sure all of you might have done on stochastic processes. Similarly, semi-Markov processes. We have quite extensively used semi-Markov processes in different, in fact, our papers have been cited very well in many research papers. That is, in manpower systems, we have used semi-Markov processes in manpower systems. And then there are semi-regenerative processes and so on. These are the different processes you can see are special cases of point processes. Now, once again, we discuss on the product density in terms of reliability. Apart from reliability and availability, we also have other measures of system performance, many of which depend on the number of certain points, like, for example, failures of the units, repairs completed, system downs, system recoveries. I will explain what do you mean by system recovery, what do you mean by system down. We will, and then there is a system called, only you come across in reliability, you come across two types of systems. One is continuously available system or intermittently available system. So in intermittently available system, we are not interested in system reliability. Nobody is interested. What we are interested is how many disappointments have occurred. I will explain you what do you mean by disappointment maybe at a later stage. So how many disappointment probably I can explain now. Disappointment means, suppose you go to the office and you need your computer to work. Suppose it doesn't work when you need them. That means you are disappointed. So after 5 o'clock, you leave the office. Suppose the computer doesn't work. That means no need period. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it works or it doesn't work. As long as it works during my usage period, then that is called, I mean, if it doesn't work during the usage period, that is called disappointment. And in reliability, we have to count how many such disappointments, because if the number of disappointments are increasing, then that system is not a good system. Then that reliability is very poor. So the disappointment event is a very important event. Then product densities give a helping hand to obtain their mean number and the stationary rate of occurrences. Well, we will come to that when we first give some necessary basics on these models. Okay, now I'm coming to a little bit of mathematics. How do we define the product density mathematically? Suppose we call nx delta is a random variable representing the number of events in the interval x and x plus delta. So in queuing theory, if you say the number of people arrived during that period x to x plus delta is a point event. So nx delta is defined as the number of failures. For example, instead of calling number of failures or number of customers, here we call it in point processes, we call it as number of events. Now the product density will be defined as follows. Hn, x1, x2, etc., whatever it is. Can you see the arrow? Is that fine? Okay. So this Hn, x1, x2, etc., xn is defined like this: the expected value of the product of the number of events during the interval xi plus xi and xi plus delta I. And how do we represent this? This is represented in terms of probability here. That expectation is nothing but this. So what does this say? This probability is probability that there are number of events between xi and x plus delta I exceeding 1. That is called the product nth order product density. Sorry. Okay, a point process is said to be regular. This is something like in a queuing model. If you look at, we assume in a Poisson MM1 queuing model, you always assume that more than one customer to arrive, the probability is very small, isn't it? So that is what this will show. Probability of nt delta greater than 1 is order of delta. So that Hn, x1, x2, etc., xn, whatever it is, multiplied by delta 1, delta 2, etc., delta n, represents the probability of an event in each interval. That means during x1 plus delta 1, the event has occurred. Similarly, the event has occurred between x2 and x2 plus delta 2, and the same event has occurred in xn plus delta n. So that is the meaning of that product density. Probability of that happening is the product density. Integration for the first order product density, that means when n equal to 1, the first order product density over the interval will yield the mean number of events. That will give you, again I'm repeating, the product density, whether it is first order product density or second order product density, you integrate them, you won't get 1. It is not like a probability density function. It is a moment density function. Therefore, you get the moments. If you take the first order product density, you integrate, you get expected value. You take the second order product density, you get expected value of x square, and also you will get expected value of x1 and x2. So the product moments as well as the second order moments. For a simple, I'm not going to, it is not much actually the product, the point processes I will just explain, and then we go to applications of reliability. For a simple stationary regular univariate point process, we have the following results. Suppose you take n0t. What is the n0t? That means the number of events occurring over the interval 0 to t, where t is any time point. Expected value of that will give you t over mu. I'm not going to derive some of these derivations. I have just taken them. I had no time to derive, and also it will be boring if you take the derivations. And then the second order moment, it will be like this, where this mu is the stationary expected value. That means you have taken the mean, means t tends to infinity. When t tends to infinity, the expected value of the length of the interval between any two successive events, and H1C is a conditional probability. So this you can see it actually, there is a book by Professor Srinivasan and Professor Subramanian, and also I have used quite extensively in 1983 on these product densities. Next, we consider some effective uses of product densities in the probabilistic analysis of redundant systems. For example, you take an n-unit system. N-units means, well, it is very complex. If the number of units are increasing, for example, is it possible to have 100 lifts in your university? It will not be possible. So you may have 1 lift or maybe 2 maximum. So because maintenance will become more and more expensive, that is the reason why people start using 1-unit system, 2-unit system, and so on. But here, for mathematical purposes, I have just explained n-unit complex repairable system. So we define what we call ZT is a random variable representing the state of the system at any time t, taking the value 1. That means suppose the system is in an up state, that means system is operating, then the value, it is a dichotomous random variable, it takes value 1, or when the system is down, it takes the value 0. Now we define the events called E and D. These are very important events in because E is the system entering the up state from down state. Suppose you have n, they say n units are there. System entering the up state from down state means, suppose you are in the system is in the down state means all the units have failed. And 1 unit has been repaired. That means the system is, that means 1 unit is operable. when you put it in online, other units may be under repair, but you have already reached the upstate. That means going from downstate, you have gone to the upstate. That is called E. E is called the system recovery. And D is the event. From upstate, you are going to the downstate. When is that possible? Suppose n-1 units have failed and one unit is operating. All of a sudden, at one particular time point, that unit also failed. That means you are already in the upstate, but it has failed. Therefore, it has come to the downstate. So these are the two events, because I'm subsequently using these two events in the reliability models. Okay, these events may or may not be regenerative. I will explain what is a regenerative stochastic process. That is very excellent. That is also a part of point processes. That means it regenerates, same event regenerates. Now we define NETX and NDTX denote the respective number of E and D events in the interval T to T plus X. That means this NETX is E events have occurred during the interval T to T plus X, and D events have occurred between T and T plus X. So those two events, the number of events, that is counted as this. We first concentrate upon the point processes characterized by the points representing the epochs of occurrences of these events and the corresponding first order product densities, HET and HDT. That means E event has occurred, this is a product density, and D events when they occur, that is also a point product density. Okay, marked point process. What is a marked point process? I just okay, a marked point process is one where point events occur with marks. That means, for example, in queuing theory, a bulk of customers have arrived at a particular time point. Now that particular time point can be marked as how many customers have come. And in the next time point, it need not be the same bulk, it may be smaller or higher number of customers would have arrived. So when you mark such events, they are called marked point processes. Processes in which the points are distinguished only by their epochs of occurrence are called univariate point processes. And there are also called multivariate point processes. Two or more classes of type of points are observed. One way of specifying a multivariate point processes is to consider first the univariate point processes at each point, that means at different time points, regardless of the class, and then to attach to each point a random variable x whose realized values gives the class. So I'm sure you know what is a realization. That is what actually that is very important in today's context. A realization is something you have achieved of something desired. What you desired, you have achieved. That is called a realization. So how do we reach those points, those events? X can be allowed to be a general random variable. Such processes are called marked point processes. Well, this also is very well defined with examples by Cox and Isham. I mean, that book I mentioned in 1980. They consider the marked point processes generated by the epochs of occurrence of the D events, and let X be the sojourn time spent in the preceding state. Okay, this is the first order product density from the general Hn, x1, x2, etc. Now we define for the particular events E and D, we define the first order product density. How do we define? F1 xt equal to probability of D event in T to T plus delta 1 and E event to occur in T minus X to T minus X plus delta 2 divided by delta 1 delta 2. Well, that is basically the density property you take limit delta 1 and delta 2 tends to 0. This is the first order product density of the D events of the randomly marked point processes of the D events. This is a product density in the product space or on X and T, and will be useful in estimating the interval reliability. We will do that in a couple of minutes. The mean square value of the cost and so on, we are going to do that. Yeah, in fact, this slide itself will explain RTX is the interval reliability. How do we define the interval reliability? On the time axis, you mark a T and the next point is T plus X. So during that interval, if the system is operable or available, then that is called interval reliability. So ZU equal to 1 means 1 stands for operable and 0 stands for failed. So in the interval T to T plus X, ZU takes 1 value because that is also a dichotomous random variable or bivariate. Given, sorry, this is Z is a capital 1, ZT equal to 1. And this can be also found. How do we calculate this? Once we find the first order product density, you integrate within these intervals, you get your reliability. How do we get? Well, that is the definition. So there is no excuse for definitions. RTX is defined like this. Then next we consider some of the repairable systems studied in the past with regardless to the points mentioned above. When the notation used is complex, that's what I told you earlier. Some of the equations I have not derived because it becomes too big. So if I miss some of the equations or some of the notation, please excuse me. I will. If someone is interested, you are welcome to contact me. Further, we wish to emphasize the systems discussed or have here are not exhaustive. They are not exhaustive. It's only some examples. Okay, now we are coming to reliability. You take a 1 unit system with repair. I was just, today morning, I was just thinking, the entire world, just think of a situation of the world today. Who expected that such a situation would arise in this year? The COVID-19. Now the entire world is under repair. Are we not treating the patients? You can view that the whole world is modeled as 1 unit system with failure and repair. Ask the question whether our world is reliable to live in 2030. This is a good measure one can think of. This is a good reliability problem. Unless a continuous mechanism is enforced, the unit may not operate to our satisfaction. In fact, reliability is embodied in all systems subject to failure. So one can think of this COVID-19 entire world as 1 unit. That can also be, I just wanted to mention here because I was thinking today morning, what is a 1 unit system? How can we think of? But in mechanical systems or electronic systems, a 1 unit system means you take one machine. The machine can be operable or it can be in the failed state. So at any time, the 1 unit system can be found in one of the 2 states, either in operable state or under repair. Sirisha Garu, please let me know if I am exceeding the time.
More 50 minutes are there, sir. We can carry
on. Okay, thank you. Because I have quite a number of slides, so I'm still only 17. So I'll see what I can do.
And participants are, it is showing that everybody is interested in the talk. You can take 10 more minutes, no problem, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice of you. Okay, let the probability density function of the lifetime. For example, lifetime means when the unit is operating, that behaves, the operating time is a random variable. So the density function for that random variable is alpha dot, and the repair time distribution is beta dot. Both the events E and D are regenerative. Because why they are regenerative, I'll come to that. So once the unit has failed and the repair starts, that means that event will not depend on the previous event. Therefore, they are regenerative events. So E and D events are regenerative. They occur alternatively, and the stochastic processes describing the behavior of the system is an alternating renewal process, because they occur, the failure and the repair occurs alternately. So in that case, how do we define the first order product density? Now look here, alpha x, that means at the time point x, the unit has failed, and in the remaining time t minus x, what can happen is after x, the unit may have failed, repaired, failed, repaired, failed, repaired, and so on. But we catch hold of the E event. That is the renewal density or the product density, HET minus x. So during the t minus x period, the E event must occur. Then that is what the first order product density. And what is this HET? That's what I explained you. Alpha t convolute with beta t. That means it is the sum of the lifetime. It is the distribution of the sum of two random variables, that is lifetime as well as repair time. So alpha t convolute beta t, it is the n-fold convolution, because n can be 1 to infinity. Any number of times it could have failed, repaired, failed, repaired, failed, repaired, but at the last event E must occur. That means the system recovery must occur. Therefore, the convolution HET is the convolution of the repair time and the alpha t and beta t. Okay, again 1 unit system with repair. Now denoting the time spent in state 1 and state 0 respectively by ut and dt, employing the regeneration point technique of Bellman and Harris. Of course, you know, these are all classical papers, even though it was in 1948. That is very classical paper by Bellman and Harris on regenerative point technique. And then Srinivasan in 1971 and so on. There are many papers after that. So this ut and dt are the uptime and the downtime. Now, you may ask yourself why E and D we define now. So E and D are only events. Now what are the associated random variables? ut and dt are the random variables. Now, for example, the function pi ut is the PDF of ut, and that is given by this formula. You may look at here, probably I will explain. Alpha n plus 1 u means at the time point u, the unit must have failed n plus 1 times. That is, the n plus 1th failure has occurred, and n can take 0 to infinity. That's why we have taken n plus 1, because if n equal to 0, that means the first time it has failed. When n equal to 1, it will be the second time that has failed, and so on. Same way, the repair takes place beta n means nth time the repair has been completed. And in that case, the density function is derived like this. Well, this is not my, I just copied from Bellman and Harris, and this is a very standard formula. And then from this, you can always find out what is ft1 t2. That means at time t1 and at time t2, what is the second moment? Expected value of t1 times ut1, ut2. It's like covariance function. We call it as a covariance function. And then we also are interested, you see, you maintain a system is very important. Well, you can find reliability, availability, and so on. That is very good. But what is the cost incurred or cost of that system? That means when the system is operating, there is a cost associated to that. When the system is down, that is, there is a cost associated to it. Therefore, the total cost will be equal to this entire formula, where expected value of dm1 at, m1 means this associated to the operable or the ut, and 0 means it is in the down state. So that is the total expected cost. And you can extend this to any number of points, n greater than or equal to 2. Expected value of C and T can also be found out, but we face some degeneracies and have the use of, in that case, we use some weight coefficients which can be identified to the Stirling numbers. These Stirling numbers was used very extensively by Alladi Ramakrishnan. I just have to recall. It is in my mind, but I'll come back if someone is interested. And then, now as a special case, suppose you take alpha t. You see, we said alpha. What is alpha t? Alpha t is the expected uptime, and beta t is the downtime. So if you assume that your your uptime or the operable time is exponentially distributed and repair time is once again exponentially distributed, the problem becomes very simple. You can easily evaluate these HEET. That means you started with E event, you remain with E event, the probability is so much. And you started with E and then you go to D, this is the probability. And then when you integrate these two product densities, you will get the mean number of E events and mean number of D events. That is useful. Why we are doing this? Because they are all useful. How many times E events have occurred? How many times D events have occurred? If you know, you know, oh, number of times failed is becoming bigger than the number of times the system is operating. In that case, this system is not a good system, or the cost may be more. So these are the things one can infer from these measures. Same way, the second order product density, that means the E event HET1 T2 T, that means is the first order, is the second order product density. That means E event has occurred at time T1 and at time T2. How do we explain that? You started with E event here and you are reaching E event again at time T1. That is one possibility. Oh, and then from where you stopped here, you started there, and the remaining time T2 minus T1, that means at the time point T2, you are reaching the state E. So that is the second order product density. Expressions for these second order product densities can be derived similarly. I mean, as we have done in the previous one, we defined ZT random variable and so on. Same way we can easily derive. Okay, next we derive what we call a Kingman's P function. I'm sure many of you have used in Markov chains also, probability Pij Markov chains. So here Pij is a function of T. So the Kingman's P function is defined as, if you start with I and you remain to be in state I at time T, that is defined as probability Zt equal to I given Z0 equal to I. I'm sorry, I just want to take some water, please. In the present case, we note that because of the exponential nature of the Sogerian times in each of the states 0 and 1, both the states of the stochastic processes generate regenerative phenomena. The expression for the Kingman's P functions, well, this is very standard. You can see any good stochastic processes book, you will find them. They are I mean, Corlin's book or UN, but whatever it is, any standard book you will get this expression. Once you take their exponential, then this is the expression for the Kingman's P function. Okay. Now we define what we call intermittently used one unit system. I earlier mentioned what is an intermittently used system. Intermittently used means any systems will have two types of systems. One is continuously available. That means from 24 hours the system may be functioning, or it may be functioning only a certain period. So when it is during, that is when we need, there are two periods, need period and no need period, or some people say usage period and non-usage period. So during the usage period, the system can be operating or system can fail. Similarly, non-usage period, the system may be operating or system can fail. As mentioned earlier, for example, you have a computer at your office or in your at home desk. You have that computer, maybe you need from 8 to 5 o'clock, you need it to be functional. After 5 o'clock in the evening, sometimes you may not need it. So what happens is, during this 8 to 5, if the system is not functioning, that is called you are disappointed. Why you are disappointed? Because, I mean, if these disappointments are increasing, that means that either the computer is bad or you will have to actually repair more and more. That means the cost will incur more. So the need and no need periods have to be well defined, and these two are also random variables. Need period and no need periods are also random variables. So in intermittently used system, in addition to the operating unit, in addition to the lifetime and the repair time, you also have another set of random variables called the need period and no need period, or usage period and non-usage period. Quite a lot of papers have been published. One, I remember a set of papers by one of former staff members of Andhra University, Prof. D. Bhaskar. He has published a lot of work on intermittently used systems. And then I extended some of his results. And there are many other papers. I will discuss at the end what is the future research one can do. Okay. So Srinivasan and Subramanian 1980 have considered an intermittently used one unit system where the need and the no need periods that follow each other constitute a pair of independent random variables distributed exponentially with parameters mu and lambda respectively. Denote the PDFs of the lifetime and repair times are, let us say, F dot and G dot. That means it's an arbitrary distribution. It need not be exponential. We do not know the nature of the distribution. So if you take the arbitrary distributions, the problems are, that means they are actually speaking, they are non-Markovian. If it is exponential, well, each time point we know they behave independently, there is no problem. You can tackle the problem easily. But if they are arbitrary distributions or general distributions in what they call MG1 queuing system. G means, well, the service time distribution is arbitrary. Same way here, both the lifetime and the repair times are arbitrarily distributed. Then we define D event represent a disappointment. That means a point event characterized by the entry of the system to either in the down state during a usage period or the state of the need of the system when the system is already in the down state. That means the state of the need occurs when the system is already in the down state. In such cases, you are very much disappointed. That such events are called D events. These D events are different from in continuously available systems. Those D events means system entering the down state from the up state. That is different. And this D event is a disappointment. And then E is the event that the system recovers from the state of disappointment. Both E and D events are regenerative by virtue of the assumption of the exponential holding times of the need and no need periods. Then the conditional product density of the D event, well, this is already, I'm not going to derive it, but just to explain. From 0 to 3, there are different states. From 0 state to 3 state, it will go either one way, one with as one event, or it may go at a point. I think this is wrong. This T minus U is wrong. This T minus U is supposed to be here. U is supposed to be here. That means at U this has occurred. Then in the remaining time, the renewal density occurs. And that if they are exponentially distributed, you can easily find out. These alpha and beta are the need period, the distribution, the rate at which the need time is exponentially distributed with parameter alpha. No need period is exponentially distributed with parameter beta. Sorry. Oh. Okay. Then again the Hij T is the product density of the events representing entry into the system state J of the system, given that the initial state enters the entered the state I. And phi ijt is the probability density function of the time interval between I event and the next J event. Well, 0 stands for the state in which the unit is operating during the no-need period, and 3 stands for the state in which the unit is under repair. In that case, the renewal density or the product density is defined or derived like this. Now, an intermittently used system with preparation time for, this is a different model. Now, I want to, what with preparation time, this is exactly similar to, nowadays many papers are coming in queuing theory. What they call it as vacation period. So this is almost analogous to the, this preparation time is almost similar to vacation period in queuing models. And how does it, actually this is, probably I was the first one who started this preparation time. And also I called it as a dead time. Why I have taken dead time means in counter models, I'm sure counter 1, counter 2 models, I'm sure many of you have done in stochastic processes. What are the counter models? In counter models, when the particles move from one compartment to another compartment, there is it will be shut down for certain time, and that certain time is a random variable. They call it as a dead time, whereas here we call it as a preparation time. now I want to explain what is this preparation time means. For example, I am repairing a unit. Now, after I repair the unit, now the repair may be either big repair, or it may be a small repair. If I do a small repair, probably I will go for 5 minutes rest, or 5 minutes to get ready to take up the next unit. Or this preparation time can be, when I make a big repair, then I may need rest or for some more time. Maybe I may take 10-15 minutes. So then before the next repair could be taken up, I will take some preparation time or dead time or rest period, whatever you call, or vacation period. So these preparation time is the time after each repair completion. The repair facility will not be available for a random amount of time. That is called the preparation time. In all the intermittently used systems considered so far, it is usually assumed that the repair facility is continuously available to attend the repair of the failed units. But it is reasonable to expect that a preparation time might be needed to get the repair facility ready before the next repair could be taken. If this preparation time is started only when a unit arrives for repair, it is easy to solve the problem, because that repair time plus preparation time, you can call it as the actual repair time. Then the problem is very simple, but it is not so. When the repair time is completed, automatically this fellow takes rest. Otherwise, what is going to happen at this end of the time point, he has to start, or he must start the repair, but it is not done. He is taking the rest. So that's why it is not as simple as adding those two random variables. Okay, an intermittently used system again. But this preparation time usually starts immediately after each repair completion, so that the facility becomes available at the earliest. After each repair completion, the repair facility is not available for a random time. This non-availability period of the repair facility is similar to dead time in the counter models. Well, counter models have been used quite extensively by Takacs in 1956, and Subramanian et al. In 1981 have obtained the reliability and availability of 2-unit warm standby system. Well, the Subramanian et al. Means, well, he was my supervisor, and that's part of my contribution as well. We have considered a 2-unit warm standby system with preparation time for the repair facility. In this paper, of course, we considered an intermittently used system with the assumption that the repair facility requires preparation time after each repair. That means that preparation time is also a random variable. That means you have actually operating time, the repair time, need period, no need period, and then you also have preparation time. Then the problem becomes more complex. Usually the time to the first disappointment, that is a good measure one has to take. What is the time taken to have the first D event to occur? That is a very good character by the entry of the system to either to the downstate during the usage period, or the need arising for the system when it is in the downstate. And the rate of disappointments, that means how many such D events have occurred, that is also considered as a good measure. And then we also found out the joint probability distribution of the disappointments at different specified intervals. Now, if you consider an intermittently used system, what are the events it can happen? The state can be, either it will be in zero state. In zero state, what can happen is the unit may be, we are considering only one unit. Now, the unit may be operable and you are in the need period. Then that means it is a good state. there is no problem, you are happy. Or you are operable, but no need period. And in that case, repair facility is, when operable need period, repair facility naturally takes rest. I mean, he doesn't bother. When everything is going well, why should he worry? Same way, when it is operable and it is in the no need period, still repair facility doesn't worry because the system is operating. Suppose it has failed and you are in the no need period. That means in the night, suppose your computer has gone down, but the repairman does not know. So that means he is not necessarily available. Whereas if he is in the failed, if the unit is in the failed state, but he is in the need period, then he has to be available. Because during the need period, he has to repair it. So that can be another event. And the last event will be failed, need, and not available. Why not available? Why this event not available can happen? Because the unit might have failed during the period he was repairing, or during the period he was taking rest. When he was taking rest, the unit might have failed. So he is not available. That can be possible. These are the only 5 mutually exclusive and exhaustive events you will get. And then how do we, well, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to use the product densities in these problems. Let us say those 5 states, 0, 1, 2 are in the up state because they are all operable. And V is 3, 4. They are in the failed state, down state. And then we define these events. A1 is the event that unit just is online and the dead time or preparation time, it doesn't matter, is just commenced for the repair facility. And A2, we define another event called the repair of the unit just commences. And D is the, of course, disappointment. And number of eta events, eta means it can be A1, A2 or D. And in that case, what is the density of phi dt? That means probability D event occurring in T to T plus delta, given that NA1T equal to 0 and number of D events in time in the interval 0 to T is 0, given that A1 at T equal to 0. That is the first order product density. This is the first order product density. Simply D event in T to T plus, that is the density. The previous one is the density. And here, this is the first order product density. This will happen. And then how do we derive this? Using H1D T equal to, either the D event has occurred straight away, or it would have occurred first at T and then between T and T minus U. This is in H11 state. And then when you calculate this and integrate this function, you will get the expected number of D events. And if you take T tends to infinity, well, this can be used by Tauberian theorem using Laplace transforms and then solve it using the Tauberian theorem. You can get the stationary rate of disappointments can be obtained from here. And this is also expected value of D can be used using the key renewal theorem. In renewal processes, you find this using the Laplace transforms for phi dt and phi 11 bar t. I think there was a mistake here. Sorry. Yeah, it is not phi dt, it is phi d bar t. That means it is a survivor function, not density function. It is the survivor function. So, and that survivor function is phi 11 star 0. So this proportion will give you the expected number of disappointments. And this can be, these star indicates the Laplace transform, and at s equal to 0, you can use the Tauberian's theorem and so on. to calculate those and then find the expected value of D. Now, we can also think of joint probability of disappointment free intervals. That means, for example, at t and t plus x1, t and t plus x2, and so on, or t1 and t1 plus x1, t2 and t2 plus x2, and so on. That means there are no disappointments during those intervals. That is nothing but your interval reliability, and that can be found like this. And how do we get this? These are the three mutually exclusive and exhaustive possibilities. And using these three mutually exclusive and exhaustive possibilities, you can derive Rn function. And that is this.
Sir, actually it's 5:15, sir, and
Okay.
Okay,
I will summarize, and okay, you can also do the 2-unit systems and cold standby systems, and also warm standby systems. You can also do the systems with preventive maintenance. That means, what do you mean by preventive maintenance? When you know that the unit is going to fail certain period, before that you prevent that. That means you repair it beforehand. Such systems are systems with preventive maintenance. And then systems with imperfect switch. That means when the online unit fails, you have to put the standby unit, you have to load it. So when you load the unit, that loading time, I mean, suppose I am loading that, I myself, if I am not well, that means that the switch is not good, and so on. This can be applied to intermittently warm unit systems, and you can extend it to N-unit systems, N-unit warm standby systems. The varying repair rate. That means, what is this varying repair rate means? The rate at suppose when the repair rate depends on the number of failed units. If there are 10 units to repair, then I may do my service fast. If there are 100 units to be repaired, then I may be encouraged or discouraged. Then my service rate may be increasing or decreasing. So the service rate depends on the number of failed units. That is quite a complex problem, but it is very interesting. And K out of NG system, yeah, and N-unit system in operating random environment, and so on. Well, these are the references. If I have already sent it to Dr. Sridhar Garu, and if there is anything, well, you are welcome to contact me at any time. And then I just want to take only one more minute, Andy. What are the future research? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have used so many Markovian models so far, but there are quite a number of non-Markovian models where you can definitely use the product densities, and they are very complex. You will have to do some sort of simulation to get the system measures. And then statistical estimation. Well, I have done quite a number of, with my students, we have done quite a number of papers on statistical estimation for these models. And also we have both classical estimation as well as Bayesian estimation, and obtain the confidence intervals. And then somebody has mentioned, well, software reliability models, whether we are working. Yes, one can work on the software reliability models as well. I want to thank the Geetam. Thank you very much. I hope this talk was useful. Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I welcome the panel members for question and answers.
It's my
Guru
privilege.
sir, Mashankar sir.
It's my privilege, Guru Garu, that I could hear these talk, which I heard from you around 40 years back during my MPhil work. So
Yes.
it's nice to recall all the concepts here. It's a wonderful thing, and definitely these concepts must be very highly useful for the young researchers to carry out reliability theory, particularly the applications in queuing theory. And only one thing I can add, because I know what Professor Tirupati Rao is doing as far as his stochastic model and cancerous cells. If I am correct, Tirupati Rao,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
sir. So, what is that you have been telling as a vacation period? He is taking as the drugation as a vacation period in order to come out with his stochastic modeling on cancer cells in different stages. If I am right, Mr. Tirupati Rao.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, over to Tirupati Rao.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I have to grateful to Geetham management for considering me for this very, very vibrant talk as one of the panelists. Really, it's my privilege, as our Uma Shankar sir said, my privilege also, because it's the first time that Professor Edavalli, I am listening him. I heard about him. He's a very vibrant researcher and a true academician on the core of math lines. So really, I was admired with your presentation, sir. You are, as correctly pointed, that you are making use of these random processes or stochastic processes or point processes as tools. The discipline is reliability theory. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's a reliability is a discipline. It is infinite, unending. We can't exhaust the concepts of the discipline with one or two tools. Might be these tools contribute some extent to explore the required part of a specific domain part of the discipline. Really, it's a eye-opening lecture, sir, because it is, as my perception, knowledge has different formats. We, the people considered as theoreticians, may contribute some science or knowledge. Now, the present generation, they are more working exposure with technology, engineering. All this technology and engineering should be supported with science. The math science, what you have provided today, is really an eye-opener. And it is the order of the day, the present generation should focus on the need of the science. Technology and engineering people, they are always bothered about the front end, some extent. Of course, they are also working with back end. But the math concepts behind this technology and engineering must be there as back end. You have very aptly mentioned the notions of probability theory, stochastic processes, and these concepts are very essential to explore different statistical devices as well as based on the parameters. Of course, just now our Uma Shankar has mentioned, my work is basically, I use it to study the stochastic processes. I cannot say that are specific processes. Basing on the process with the using axioms, I use it to explore the probability distributions. Most of the times, these probability distributions, if I am correct, these are virgin nature. I cannot make any, I cannot claim that any particular person is already responsible for deriving this new probability distributions out of processes I have observed. My study is stochastic processes for growth and control studies of cancer cell. Okay, I have used these bivariate linear birth-death processes. More or probably that there is a philosophy borrowing from the QE theory concepts and birth and death processes concepts. But it's a really a different work, But my science behind this total work is stochastic processes. And today you have covered a very core area where the point processes, how do they make use of studying the reliability systems. So the systems with one unit, multiple units, which are parallelly working or series working, at all the states, you need to assess what is the status, or in the sense, you have to identify what is the state of that occurrence. So once we can identify the state of occurrence, then we can make something to modeling the performance of the setup.
Entire
So
process.
really very interesting, sir. You have your identification with the state, unit, need of the work and repair necessity, and classifying into 5 states. And this is what the researcher has to focus their knowledge to explore it. No doubt your work is, your presentation is not only informative, but also very thought-provoking and innovative. It is so innovative and explorative. And after listening you, I have a lot of scope to make use of the Q theory concept. And I have already mentioned with the inventory. Actually, I'm working with some part of inventory also. Now the total logistic systems, you are well aware about this supply chain management. So in supply chain management, we have the concepts of queuing theory and inventory and embedded systems of this. How beautiful they are catering the requirements now. Everywhere we have supply chain concept in all the mechanisms of either government or non-government. So in that respect, the theory what you have discussed today has given a lot of thought-provoking ideas, and the way you have presented is, you started with a simple phenomena and you have given a confidence to the budding researchers that math is not a complicated one, it is a friendly discipline to the researchers. If we are thinking something different and with a specific dedication and orientation, then we can do wonders. So really, math research is mostly it is back end. Once it was happened, now all the technology people or engineering people, what they are using now, the theory developed by mathematicians. Really very heartening to listen you, sir. And you have given a lot of valuable information. Who are the actual researchers that are initiated, grown, developed all these things. Really interesting, sir. It's again my fortunate that we have to explore different parameters related to mean stationary rate of disappointment, joint probability density functions, product probability functions. So these are all wonderful tools.
Thank you.
Arriving to probability distribution is a breakthrough. In any stochastic processes, using probability theory, arriving to probability distribution is a breakthrough. So that breakthrough we have through mathematical research. It's a very interesting point, sir. If it is not out of occasion, I have a small doubt regarding that. I request you focus on that a small point called, of course, you know the importance of moments in statistics. Okay, for all statistical distribution related behavior, if we wish to speak, we need moments. So we have to salute to that Pearson for introducing the moments of different categories. And I heard in the recent times, there are moments called fractional moments. I'm a little bit curious to know what is this notion of fractional movements and where they are exactly using for. For example, ordinary movements, Pearson movements, we have, I know, I have some idea. What is first order movement, second, third, fourth, center, all movements, how we can arrive to the Pearsonian type of distributions. These are all, I have some a little bit clarity. But I'm so curious to know that there is a term, and a lot of research work already reported on this fractional movements. If you are making some focus on it, it will be helpful for researchers.
Coming to the fractional movements, well, I myself, I have to learn a lot. I have not done so far.
Yeah.
But coming to there are 2 points you have raised. One is on you are doing on the cancer cells or cancer research problems. We used these point processes and stochastic processes quite a lot in AIDS epidemiology models. I will send you some of my papers where I have used these point processes, AIDS epidemiological models. Okay, so probably this can be used for cancer research as well.
Yes,
I do not know at this stage unless I understand the problem. There is one more point you have mentioned, which anyway, as I remember, I will send you the email.
Okay, right, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir,
As a part of participants, sir.
No,
Yeah.
1 minute. I wanted to interact with sir. Akhil Sidri garu, just a minute.
Okay.
Sir, actually, my introduction, like I'm Sirisha, like you know that, but the other side, I'm a pure mathematician teaching real analysis, complex and functional analysis in the college, actually. But really, the way you have explained each and every point made me understood this product density and point processes, even though I don't even know a single word of it, and really have learned the teaching skills, like how should I improve, like more than that. So it's a fantastic lecture, sir.
Thank you, Ma. Actually, maybe that is what I wanted to say when Dr. Tirupati Rao garu mentioned.
Okay.
You see, what we are doing is, people think we are doing mathematics. Honestly, this is a baby mathematics. This is not.
Yes.
It is only what we are doing is only mathematical reasoning, not mathematics. It is only anything in probability is more a mathematical reasoning. But if I have persons like you said you are doing real analysis and functional analysis or whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
I admire those people because you are learning really, really good mathematics. And probably, who knows, if we learn some of those things, about 40, 50 years back, real analysis and functional analysis, measure theory, these were the very important topics before we do statistics. But today, statistics, they have taken out any advanced mathematics. That in my opinion is, people don't want it, therefore they have removed it. But proper justification, if you want, you need to learn proper good analysis. You must have a good analysis background.
Thank you, sir. And one more point, just I know that this is the lunch time for you, but even then I wanted to point out one more thing. My chat box here, I'm just observing the chat box. It is full of good comments. And I'll talk with my technician, and if they could give us this chat box comments, I will just email you to, sir.
You are most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Sridhar garu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sirisha madam. Sir, now it is a part of participants, sir. The first question is the question from Professor Srinivas Velampudi, sir. Can you suggest best book for reliability for beginners, sir?
It depends on how you want to. If you want to look at the statistical aspects of live testing and reliability, then there are books available, but if you look at the reliability modeling side, in my opinion, still Gnedenko's book is a classical book. Barlow and Proscham.
Okay.
These are all very classical books, and they're easily understandable as well. They can start from there.
Sir, this question from Dr. Sashikala, can we use reliability in environmental protection, sir?
Definitely. Let me put it this way. There were more than 300 research papers available on human reliability. I do not know whether you heard of human reliability. This was done by University of Ottawa Professor B.S. Balbir Singh Dhillon. He did a lot of research on human reliability. So why not? I mean, environmental protection, that you can definitely introduce reliability into that, because, for example, reliability technique is also applied in environmental protection, which involves randomness due to, for example, several factors like wind flow, temperatures, and so on. So there is a beautiful book actually available. It is called, I'm trying to say, Redundancy Handling with Model Based in Systems Engineering, or something like that. It is called Redundancy. I will send you the exact title. But it is something called Redundancy Handling with Model Based Systems Engineering by one of the Chinese guy, and Chole and Mani. I think there are 3 authors, but I'll send you the details.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Again, this question from
anyway, your question you are asking is about environmental protection, whether we
Yes,
can
sir.
use reliability. Absolutely, there is no question, because in any technology you will have to use environmental protection. Yes, you can use.
Sir, again, this question from Dr. Sashikala, sir. Can we use Burr distribution type 1, 2, 3 up to so on 12 for integrated redundant reliability models?
Yes, again, this book I have suggested, it has used the Burr distributions on, in that book, I think, Redundancy Handling with Model-Based Systems Engineering. He definitely used Burr distributions. Please go through. There are quite a lot of research papers also in the recent past. You can
Sir,
go
this
through.
question from Dr. Thank you, sir. Sir, this question from Dr. Subbara Pawan Kumar. Which is a good textbook for learning the concept of IRM models? Integrated redundant reliability model.
I think on integrated reliability, something I'm trying to recall the book. I don't have it here, but I can suggest. I'm sure there are some research papers as well.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But at hand, I can't give you that book, but definitely I will send you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, another question from Dr. S.V.S. Sharma Garu. To get the desired levels of accuracy in building a model, can we manipulate the size of the population?
It depends on the type of the distributions you choose. You know, the random sample you take, that will depend on what type of population you have taken.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So another question from Dr. Muthu Ganapati Subramanian. We have many examples for queuing models. The question is how to compute or check the service time of a queuing model follows exponential distribution. I need example for such model.
Could you repeat the question?
The question is how to compute or check the service time of a queuing model follows exponential distribution.
You know, testing the distributions, you will have to actually, there are two ways. You can check the data from old papers, or you can use the chi-square test to see whether that particular distribution is exponential or not.
Okay, sir.
You
Sir, this
know,
question from
because see, what is a distribution? Distribution is nothing but it is not a formula. It is only a data. So you have to check through whether that distribution follows, I mean, the exponential distribution will fit in or not. I do understand why he is asking that question, because people take exponential as, take it for granted, because that's very easy to solve the problem. The mathematical simplicity, the mathematical complexity is not as much as, yes, the
Generally,
other distributions.
Guru Garu, generally for Markovian queuing models, the
Yeah.
service times are taken as an exponential. As long
Not
as it
necessarily,
follows,
one can take general distribution also.
right,
but-
that becomes non-Markovian in nature. As you are telling,
Yes.
solving
Yes.
that particular queue will be more difficult than
Yeah.
the service times follow an exponential.
Yeah.
Sir, there
Yeah.
are established proofs in that. It's a very
Yeah.
basic level question. If the question person, if they refer the basic concept of few models, any simple basic model, they have explained how this discrete random variable count follows Poisson process, and the inter-arrival time or inter-service times are
Follow
continuous
exponential.
variables. How it follows exponential
Exponential,
distribution. It's a
right.
very beautiful explanation. It's
Yeah.
a very fundamental question.
But
I
there are,
think it does not require this platform to clarify that one.
yeah, but there are,
That
yeah, it is very difficult.
particular
it is very
participant may refer the basic books, fundamental level.
And also there are few papers by Marshall Newts and Ramaswamy. I think these two, there were, I mean, Ramaswamy, of course, is working in Bell Labs. They have used non-exponential distributions quite a lot. And Bell Laboratories data they have used.
To my knowledge, Professor Sharmaji,
Yeah,
perhaps Cobham in 1950s may be the foremost author.
yeah,
To go
Cobham's
in
book.
for- Yes, to go in
Yeah.
for such models.
Yeah,
Cobham, yeah.
yeah, Dutch mathematician.
Mathematician.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So this question from Dr. Mallikarjun Reddy. Sir, explain the difference between point process and renewal process with an example.
Renewal process is a special case of point processes. Andy. So renewal process is independent of identically distributed random variables, but that is not the case in point processes.
That has been defined by you in the beginning itself.
Yes, so renewal process is a special case of point processes.
Next
Or the
question.
other way around, point processes is a generalization of renewal processes.
Thank you, sir. So this question from Dr. V.C. Kashyap. Is it applicable for ISRO model satellite system?
That depends on the type of system. I mean, we have to actually look at the system and the data related to that. Yes, if you ask me, my simple answer is yes, but we have to look at that system. How complex is that, and what are the underlying distributions related to that? So yes, it can be done.
Thank you, sir. So this question from Dr. Asif. So what is the difference between component reliability and software reliability?
Not component reliability, they call hardware reliability. Yeah. So software reliability, the number of bugs affecting the software, you count them. The process is, for example, we assume the non-homogeneous Poisson process there. Whereas here in hardware reliability, you can also assume non-homogeneous Poisson process, but the problem is very, very complex, very difficult. That's why we use only homogeneous Poisson process.
Thank you, sir. Sir, thank you very much for your nice presentation and clarifications. So with
But
the
in
above
both cases,
clarifications,
there are simulation models also nowadays coming actually in both software reliability and hardware reliability.
Thank you, sir. With the above clarifications, I will conclude the remarks, sir. Reliability engineering has been extensively developed over the years since World War II, with a significant contribution by defense personnel. This resulted in developing much more reliable products. Today, it has gained much importance among practicing engineers and researchers by blending reliability concepts in all phases of the product life cycle from proposal to manufacture. It has become easy to manufacture cost-effective systems that perform better. In reliability engineering, the systems once break down due to several causes. Many scientific probability models are developed, and one such exhaustive technique is the application of point processes, which is effectively demonstrated by our distinguished speaker, Professor V.S. Sharma Edavalli garu. He has narrated different methodologies for different configuration reliability systems in a lucid manner, which is highly appreciated. At the outset, I thank the management of Geetham staff together with the delegates of the webinar, and on my personal behalf, we are profusely indebted to the distinguished Professor Venkata S.S. Edavalli garu, University of Pretoria, South Africa, in accepting our invitation, who delivered a scintillating talk on the present day issue on the theory of reliability. Sir, we are extending our heartfelt gratitude to you from the core depths of our hearts. Thank you for sparing your valuable time in sharing your thoughts on the novel specialization like reliability theory. Once again, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Can I just make a last comment while you are talking? Just
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There are many ideas coming into my mind. You know, when what's that lady who asked me the question? Sirisha garu.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Sirisha garu, I think the time has come. You know, people, mathematicians sit in at the desk and do only their mathematics, and statisticians do their own statistics work. That doesn't work nowadays. The best way to bring good work is integrating both of them. So either you are in touch with statisticians, or statisticians are in touch with mathematics, you can do wonders. That is what in the recent past, one of my students, who was a mathematician, but she attended all my classes, although she's a Pakistani. She did all her mathematics, but she didn't have a clue what probability is. She just said one day, I want to attend this, I want to attend this. Then once she has attended all the courses, she said, sir, can't I do research on this? She came up with a beautiful problem. And then she used mathematics, and I gave her the statistical concepts. I think she brought a beautiful work out of it. So I'm sorry, what I'm trying to say is multidisciplinary research is very highly encouraged today, and mathematics and statistics has no exception.
Yes, sir. Really, sir. And if we get a chance, actually, I'm also very much interested in attending your classes. That was thank you.
You're most welcome, Mama.
Thank you, Andy.
No, globe is so small.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
World is very small.
I want to, if organizers permits, I want to speak.
Always
one or two
you
lines.
are permitted.
Right,
Sir,
right.
actually, we can, because no, we have given the feedback link to the participants. No problem. Now we can carry on.
No, yes, sir. No. What I wish to convey to the concerns of Sirisha, in my knowledge, math is now considered as a technical language.
Yes, sir.
We cannot consider it's a discipline or any science. A language is essential for anybody to communicate. Without this language, you cannot communicate any concepts. So in that sense, there are so many modules in the math language. Your real analysis, probability, descriptive mathematics, whatever you call. So every domain has its own significance. And if you touch the part of any part of the math, it's again version. It's again version. If anybody is trying to exhaust the version, it is quite ambitious desire. Okay. So therefore, that's the reason why the experts they are suggesting if you are making one area as an expert, make more efforts so that you can speak something in that particular area, I mean domain. If you are so fascinating and ambitious to involve many concepts of math in a day-to-day life things, but it may make some confusion, and finally you may be landed in a lot of a very good scope related area where the output may not be that much optimistic. What my feeling is that.
Okay.
See, real analysis, wonderful subject. Algebra, wonderful subject. Calculus, wonderful subject. Probability, wonderful subject. And subjects of all these subjects is also wonderful. So, therefore, we cannot exhaust everything. What my personal opinion, I am not pessimistic. I am just sharing my personal opinion. But instead of making diversion to different diversified field, you make your own efforts, understanding the problem in your direction. Mathematical modeling is nothing but speaking the regular problem in math terminology. That is what mathematical modeling says. So you speak in real analysis terminology. Somebody will speak in calculus, somebody will speak in algebra, somebody in geometry. What is there?
Yeah, my own research paper in reliability
Yes, sir.
is I have used Boolean algebra quite
Yeah.
extensively.
Yes.
So if someone is interested, I will send those papers. Yeah, the Boolean algebra is a mathematical tool.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So,
Sir.
On
Sir,
your mic. Right.
yeah, sorry,
Now
can
over
I,
to Emir
can I-
Kamesri garu.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your content on reliability today will be echoed in our minds for a long time to come. So very nice presentation, sir. Geetam is privileged to honor Professor Sharma Edavalli, a renowned scientist, an inspiring teacher, able researcher, and a profound statistician on this occasion. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for allotting your valuable time and sharing your knowledge. We are also thankful to all the participants for attending today's session. So a small notice to all delegates, honorable resource persons, distinguished professors, industrial persons, faculty, and participants. We bring to your kind notice that due to unavoidable circumstances, Professor Arunachalam sir is unable to take over tomorrow's session from 4 to 5:30. So in his place, Professor A. Rajagopal, Six Sigma trainer and practitioner, SQC and QR specialist, former head, Indian Statistical Institute, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, will be taking over the session. We regret for inconvenience caused to you.
Good
We are
alternative.
sure.
Good alternative.
Yes,
Nice.
sir.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Thank you, sir.
we are sure that tomorrow we will have a wonderful session.
Yeah.
Now it is time to fill the feedback form. So please fill day 5 feedback form before leaving, which is already posted in Zoom chat box and YouTube chat box. See you tomorrow. Namaste to all.
Yeah, can I say just a thank you very much. Please convey my Kameshwar garu,
Yes, sir.
Suresh garu, Sridhar garu, thank you very much. Please convey my best wishes to Geetam and whoever it is, the President, Vice Chancellor, your Dean. Thank you very much.
Certainly, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, one more request, sir, to you, sir, Venkat sir, Sharma, sir.
Yes.
So tomorrow is the last day and we have valedictory. If you join for some time, we'll be very happy for that.
I will be there. I'm here for the entire week.
Yeah, exactly. That is, I know,
I
sir.
I
Thank-
will definitely
yes.
be there.
Thank you
very
very
much.
Right, Guru Garu, having distraction since very long
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
we will speak after some time.
I must also add, actually, if not Uma Shankar, I wouldn't have actually agreed.
Yes, sir. He's the person behind this
No,
program.
no.
We all know.
With that confidence only, I told Sridhar that we can get Professor Sharma on the
Yeah.
webinar.
Really, sir, made us to meet with such a great personality.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very
Umashankar, sir.
Right?
Thank you very much, sir.
Right, Guru?
Uma Shankar garu, thank you very
Bye.
much, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, Umashankar,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, Tirupati sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Chandrasekhar
Tirupati
garu.
garu.
How to sir. Sir,
Okay.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mali kaludam, sir.
Okay,
Mali
Sridhar
kaludam.
garu.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Sir, now you can have your lunch, sir.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Amma. Yeah. No, it's fine. One day if it is late, it doesn't matter.
Really?
Right.
Okay,